Hello, welcome back to my podcast. In this podcast, I will be reflecting on Module 7. I'll be talking about a famous crime and I'll be talking about a few current events. So let's get into it. So I thought Module 7 was pretty interesting. Kind of got into the more hands-on aspect of forensic work, and this module's assignments definitely showed me how forensic scientists' work is really based on attention to detail. I didn't realize there were formulas and ways to identify certain aspects in a crime scene. I thought that was pretty interesting. One of the activities was to identify blood splatter patterns and see the directions blood splatters were going, measure them. These blood splatter analysis are very important in forensic science because a lot of criminal cases obviously deal with blood. The blood can show what happened during the situation, like was it a punch, a gunshot, or something else. And it kind of tells a story, like the angle, the size of the drops. It's not just random, it's actual science, and there's kind of a formula and a code to identify every little characteristic just based on a drop of blood. Another assignment in this module was to debunk some of the myths about forensic science, such as DNA and gathering DNA, as well as fingerprints. I personally found out that retrieving fingerprints is much more complicated than it seems in like movies or TV shows, because I thought you could just pick up a fingerprint from any surface, but it's actually not that simple. And just like that, other DNA analysis processes or scientific evidence is much more complex to receive and to present to people. The last assignment for this module I thought was kind of confusing just because I don't understand technology as well as I thought I did. It was more so about online attacks and hacking and things like that. And the websites that we were instructed to use were things I had never seen before or I've never been introduced to. So figuring those out was kind of confusing, and I could see why a lot of people get hacked and why hackers are getting so advanced every day. So this activity, try to keep my, I guess, online self protected and my passwords stronger. Overall, I thought this module was very interesting and it taught me a lot about forensic science and online safety. The famous crime I'm going to be talking about, I'm not 100% sure if it's that famous, but I know it is well known. It's about a former football player who committed murder. Aaron Hernandez played for the Patriots in the NFL. In 2013, he became the focus of a criminal investigation that shocked, obviously, Patriots fans and the sports world. In Aaron's earlier years, he was reported to have been sexually assaulted. He did have deep-rooted trauma, like his father dying and getting into multiple fights. Did have a history of shootings and dealing with police, but no charges were filed. Also had a very successful NFL career. Aaron was diagnosed with a neurodegenerative disease, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE. This brain disease is associated with repeated head trauma, so obviously his football career. And after his death, his brain was examined by researchers, and they found that his case of CTE was the worst case they had ever seen. CTE can lead to cognitive and behavioral changes, including memory loss, depression, aggression, impulse control, what seems to be violence based on his case. So it was found that Aaron had actually shot semi-professional football player Odin Lloyd. The motive is said to have been that there was a dispute between these two guys. Aaron was found guilty on first-degree murder and he was sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole. The story didn't end there. Aaron actually took his own life in his prison cell in 2017. This was just days after he had been given 2 more murder charges related to shootings that were not addressed in previous years. Researchers claim that the CTE could have been related to this murder, and I believe it did because nobody acts out with that much aggression with a normal brain. And there have been other cases of football players acting out and having impulse control issues. So forensic science was used to trace back the murderer and the victim, and medical personnel here to help diagnosing his brain with CTE, link it to his actions and his motives. So now we are moving on to the more recent events. So I'm going to be talking about some inventions that accelerated forensic science tools. One is the Foldscope. So what makes this so special is that it's affordable and portable. It's a portable microscope made mostly from paper. You can fold it like origami and it's pretty easy to assemble. It can provide up to 140 times magnification and it has built-in lens and LED light. This idea made it easy for anybody to have a microscope accessible, especially in places with limited resources. And it's been used in schools, research, and projects worldwide. And this has also made forensic science easy because there's a lot of tiny details that go into forensic science, and if there's no advanced technology, Foldscope can make life a lot more easier for forensic scientists to analyze their evidence. The next forensic advancement I'll be talking about is proteomes. So these are a complete set of proteins produced by an organism, and they're found in blood, bones, and other biological materials that are analyzed by scientists. In forensic science, the study of proteomes play a important role in understanding proteins present in biological samples. Protein identifications can include body fluid identification, individual, time of death estimation, trace evidence, and it can enhance the crime scene investigations. Besides DNA and other biological information that is studied, the proteomes can offer additional insights that can be helpful with solving complicated cases. Another recent advancement has been the carbon dot powders. So researchers created a fluorescent carbon dot powder that can be applied to fingerprints to allow them to emit a bright, colorful glow under a UV light. And this helps make fingerprints much easier to analyze because they glow red, orange, or yellow. This invention has revolutionized forensic science. It allows investigators to identify and analyze fingerprints with better accuracy and precision. Last but not least, artificial intelligence is used in forensic science, and it's getting more advanced by the day. AI in forensic science can enhance investigation analysis in many different ways. One being pattern recognition. This can help in the analysis of fingerprints, DNA, and other evidence. It can also recognize faces, and AI never forgets anything. This can correspond with surveillance footage in criminal cases. There's also digital forensics. There are AI tools to help analyze digital evidence, detect anomalies, and see patterns in cybercrime investigations. AI can also be used to compare fingerprint data, analyze handwriting, and draw conclusions from photo comparisons. It can help investigators identify unique characteristics that might not be as obvious to human beings. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast, and I hope it was interesting.